make sure when we did it right.
We're recording.
Yeah, you didn't exclude.
Meeting, please come to order. Barbara, please call the roll.
We have Commissioner Levine, Berard, and Vasquez present.
Thank you. And Commissioner Noonan is on her way. We expect her fairly soon. Thank you. Commissioner Noonan's on her way. We expect to see her fairly soon. My only opening remarks are to apologize. The reason this meeting is starting late is my fault, and I apologize for any inconvenience I may have caused. Public comments. We have 7 speaker cards.
Yes.
Go ahead and call them.
Okay. Please limit your comments to 2 minutes. The first speaker is Connor Everett, and after that, Daryl Gale.
Thank you very much. Connor Everett, Environmental Water Caucus. I'm here today for the item on Cadiz. I have to say this is what we call a zombie water project. I've been working on this issue since the 90s. See, it's just informational, but I would hope you all would take information from those of us that have been challenging it for so long. Thank you very much.
Before you leave, if you have anything in writing that you would like to submit to follow up, we would welcome it.
I actually got notice of this late last night, but I will submit it afterwards if I can. Thank
Fine.
you. Yep.
Next speaker is Daryl Gale, and after that, Cynthia Hubach.
Good morning. I wanted to talk about the concept of solar panels and environmental justice. Because I first moved downtown in 2010, and I moved into one of the many old buildings that had been renovated to become low-income housing, and I was really pleased to be able to live there. And we in each of these rooms we had our own fan, but there was times, as we know, it's getting warmer and warmer and warmer, and low-income people don't have access to air conditioning. So I remember one weekend when it was so hot I couldn't stay. The fan didn't work. I could not stay in my little tiny apartment. So it was like, where do you go at night if there's no such thing as an evening cooling center? So I had to just grab some reading material and do what all the homeless people do, and they just ride the trains all night, and then they sleep inside the metro stations till morning, and then they get back and ride the trains. So I had to ride the train all night, till midnight, till I got so tired, came back. Then, lo and behold, a new building sprung up across the street, which had 115 solar panels on it. So I immediately applied, and because I'm on Social Security, I was approved right away. So now I live in an apartment that has solar panels on it. We have free air conditioning, and I really wonder about what do other low-income people do. How do you stand it when you're so hot and there's nowhere to go? How do you even live when it's getting hotter and hotter and it's not going to get better? The big chunk of the Lawson R sheet just broke off last week, so I would really like to see the opportunity for more low-income housing. My landlord actually has 2 buildings with solar panels on the roof, so I would like to see more people have access to low-income have solar panels. Thank you.
Thank you. And let the minutes reflect that Commissioner Noonan is here.
Okay. I apologize to all of you for being delayed.
Good morning. Thank you. My name is Cynthia Hubach. I live in Silver Lake. And I think playing off of what Daryl said, I'm very privileged to have solar panels on my home. I have an electric car that runs off of those solar panels, largely thanks to benefits from the state and local agencies that have provided refunds, rebates for those amenities. And I have to tell you, having the electric car and not having to go to a gas station is really wonderful, knowing that I'm not contributing to the pollution in our city, which seems to be getting worse for the first time in 30 years. I've lived here my whole life. And not going to a gas station, knowing that I'm not contributing to the air pollution, having access to clean energy has been really wonderful for me, but I can afford it. And it seems clear that what we really want to see is a move toward 100% renewable energy. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Lizette Hernandez, and after that, Kent Minot.
Good morning, commissioners. My name is Lizette Hernandez. I'm the lead organizer with the My Generation campaign of the Sierra Club. Hope you are well this morning. I am one of the many organizers that work with the Sierra Club in different communities throughout the region. We have thousands of members. I myself am from South Los Angeles. I'm a mother of an asthmatic child. He's about to be 10 years old this Sunday. I've had to rush him, unfortunately, many times in the middle of the night to the emergency room due to different asthma attacks that he's had over the course of many years. And it's days like this that I have to be mindful and careful and make sure that, that his health is being tended to. There are thousands of kids like him, particularly in low-income communities of color, which is why I work in Watts. It's one of the many neighborhoods that I work in. And we had a forum recently about the DWP. About 40 folks came. This was in collaboration with LANE, LA Alliance for a New Economy. And basically, the forum was to discuss how they can be better civically engaged in the work of the DWP. And so we hope that over the coming years or coming months, their participation will increase. And but there are concerns about getting them here during the middle of the day when they have to work often one or two jobs. They need childcare and things like that. They are concerned about the agendas sometimes coming out a day before. They'd like to know what's going on in advance. So there's many concerns that they have. They're taught being customer service and also access to jobs. So again, over the coming weeks, we hope to bring folks to you that will speak to you about what's going on. This week, though, this committee that I'm working with, the Clean Energy Committee, is working on several bills, like SB 100, for example, doing legislative visits. So they couldn't come here today because basically they're out there doing other work. Thank you for your support.
Thank you.
The next
Mr.
speaker is
Libby.
Kent Manol.
Sorry, can I just make a quick comment?
Yes, please. Commissioner Vasquez.
That's participation and outreach to community members is something that is very important to me. And maybe some of you know, but maybe some of you don't know that I'm going to host business hours where people can come and speak to me the third Tuesday of the month from 4 to 6. And the idea is precisely to address the issue where folks can come at 10 in the morning or during the day because they're, with their families or working or so. So if you want to come and make an appointment on the third Tuesday of the month, you can do so. And I think it's on the website, so you can also look, and everyone else is welcome to come speak to me. So we hope that this also helps alleviate a little bit of those issues of accessibility to board members and just in general DWP.
Great. Well, thank you for that. I'll take you up on that as well. Good morning, Commissioners. I'm Kevin, community organizer with the Sierra
I'm
Club
excited.
in My Gen campaign. I've stood here and commented before on the disparity in EV charging infrastructure between wealthy and low-income neighborhoods. I know you're familiar with it. In studying the problem, I recently attended a workshop convening at the Emmett Institute at UCLA Law School entitled Plugging Away: How to Boost Electric Vehicle Charging Infrastructure. Now, both the convening and the accompanying report make the same point. There's a really shaky business case for installing publicly accessible DC fast chargers. Fast chargers are expensive, and they generate relatively low revenue. The first solution proposed in the report is utility-owned and operated DC fast chargers. Now, I know LADWP owns and operates a number of them. I think there are 3 of them that are fairly close to my house in Sherman Oaks. Now, I'm aware of the steep cost factor in deciding to site a fast charger. Could cost $100,000, but DWP has made this investment in my home area of Sherman Oaks, made it at several different places near where I live, and made it some years ago before widespread adoption of EVs in the area had created any appreciable demand. So I'm requesting that LADWP make this investment in Watts, where I also work with the Watts Clean Air Group, so as to show residents there that the utility is sustaining its commitment to boost electric driving in low-income areas. Would the board instruct staff, many of whom attended 2 of the convenings behind that Plugging Away report, to meet with representatives of the Watts community and forge plans to find an appropriate site and install a DC fast charger in Watts. This will begin to make the facilities there equitable with those in higher income areas like Sherman Oaks. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Our next speaker is Graciela Geyer.
Good morning. My name is Graciela. I work for the Sierra Club on the My Generation campaign. I'm the campaign representative. And I just wanted to say something about My Generation. I don't know if we've ever explained it before, but the name comes from Obama's quote that says, "We are the first generation to feel the impacts of climate change, and also maybe the last one that actually has a chance to do something about it." And I really wholeheartedly believe and am grateful for this board and the city's leadership, because we really need to take action now. And I was really actually inspired by the resolution that was passed at the Conference of Mayors recently in June, and I wanted to read a couple of lines from it. Specifically, that the Department of Energy, the cost of wind and power is down 41%, and solar costs are down between 54 and 64%. 25 U.S. cities, including Columbia, Salt Lake City, San Jose, have adopted 100% clean energy goals, and 6 of the cities have already hit their targets to generate 100% clean energy. In addition, therefore be it resolved that the United States Conference of Mayors establishes a community-wide target of powering their communities with 100% renewable energy by 2035. That's what the Conference of Mayors resolution says. And therefore be it resolved that equity, affordability, and public participation and access for all people is also a goal, and that's something that we need to work on in this city, because not everybody has access right now. And the last one being that we want to have structured mechanisms to include low-income citizens in the benefits to be derived from the transition, including quality careers, which we've talked a lot about here, but also equitable access through ownership and benefits. And so that's sort of what I want to see and hope to see the leadership of this department to say, what are the programs that actually serve those needs? The shelters, the clinics, all of the different institutions that serve low-income communities, what access are they having to clean energy and the benefits of clean energy? And that's all. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
President Levine, may I?
Commissioner Noonan.
So it's ironic that probably about 30 minutes ago, I got off the phone with Commissioner Funderbrook. And because he's not here, I will take the liberty to speak on his behalf. I'm very, very proud of this board, but truly, Commissioner Funderbrook has led the exact desires that you're targeting, and the department is making great progress under the leadership of General Manager Wright and President Levine. So I just want to assure you, and if he was here, I'm almost positive that he would have commented on your concerns.
I second that.
Okay, our next speaker is from Inyo, and it is Danielle Bokcha Gutierrez.
Good morning, Board of Commissioners. I just would like, my name is Danielle Bokcha Gutierrez. I'm the Tribal Historic Preservation Officer for the Big Pine Paiute Tribe of the Owens Valley. And I would like to know, who do I address my department's request for government-to-government tribal consultation between leaderships for effective communication from my tribal council to whoever is the leader within DWP. My second question, what type of agency is LADWP? Is it public, private, stakeholder, governmental? I need to know so I can correctly address correspondence with DWP regarding projects within our Owens Valley. We are requesting a tribal liaison to be hired and to be under the direction of your leadership, not by a department, such as the state governor has a tribal liaison that is directly under the state governor. Also, we would like to acquire solar panels on our rooftops. Listening to the other people comment on that reminded me of that issue also within our Owens Valley. And we would like the runoff that's coming down from the precipitation in our mountains to be allowed back into Pasiata traditionally known as Pasiata, but is referred to you guys as the Owens Lake. And that's primarily due to the health concerns and all the health issues, cancers, asthma, everything that has been created due to the dust emissions from the Owens Lake. And that is our concern. And because young and old, when that wind is blowing, that Owens Lake, the dust particles are so extreme in the Owens Valley. Brady, it's on the radio announcements that nobody, young and old, that has asthmatic or breathing problems are allowed outside their homes. And that is a radio announcement to the whole Owens Valley. And my son has breathing problems, health issues. And now I kind of wonder, is it due to all of this? You know, and you hear other people, deaths in their family contributed to this dust emission. So we would request the runoff to be allowed back onto the lake. Thank you.
Let me respond. Can you hear us? Yeah. You can address your concern. We are always not only open but interested in and willing to engage with you. We are a publicly owned utility owned by the City of Los Angeles. And you can respond both to the general manager, who is in charge of the staff, David Wright, and to me. I'm president of the Board of Commissioners, Mel Levine. Our staff is always interested in engaging with you and working cooperatively with you. So thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
That was our last speaker card for item 2.
Okay, General Manager's report.
Thank you, and I'd ask for your patience as we have several items to go through today. I'll start with a couple brief items. One is there was discussion of some energy efficiency in Owens Valley. We do want to let the board know we have a box going out, conservation kit to every one of our residential customers in Owens Valley. We sent out bags of LED light bulbs to the LA area. This one is more tailored to the Owens Valley area with a surge protector, electric strip, and some additional LED bulbs. So those will go out in the next couple of weeks. There was a comment, and I wanted to respond just as information about air conditioning and low income. We have created a rebate program for room air conditioners because there are some of the older locations in the city that have no central air. They have room air conditioners, and often old room air conditioners are very energy inefficient. So we have a new program where we'll take the old air conditioner, if there is one, and recycle them, and then also provide a significant rebate on a new energy efficient air conditioner. So allow reduced power bills over the long run and a more efficient air conditioner. The next item I'd like to mention is that we did have some good news, which was a survey of by a professional survey firm that surveys customers of all utilities, and LADWP is ranked second in the nation as one of the most trusted brands. So it is good. We do try to be straightforward and communicate effectively and transparently so that good or bad news, customers know what's going on. Speaking and just honestly of bad news, one of the things we've had is a couple big outages during the heat waves and heat storms we've had over the last week or couple weeks, and I'd like Senior Assistant General Manager Andy Kendall to provide a summary of some of what happened and why it happened. Andy.
Good morning, Commissioners. So I'm going to discuss a couple different outages. As you're aware, we had some outages that affected the Grove and Cedars-Sinai due to cable failures. Unfortunately, we build redundancy into our system. Typically, those have multiple feeds. Unfortunately, in this case, we had one of the feeds to those buildings out for maintenance. And at the time that the other cable failed, it caused us to have to make repairs, which in this case took a long duration of time. We are working on, as part of our PSRP plan, and I'll be coming back to you in the next month or so with sort of an update to our PSRP plan and what we've done, and sort of walking through what cable replacements entail and the time frames. So I'll be coming back at a board meeting in a couple months to do that. So we're in the process of making permanent repairs to those cables. Again, as part of our PSRP plan, we replace between 35 and 45 miles of cable every year, proactively. In this case, this cable failed before we could get to it. The major issue we had on Saturday, July 8th, I'm sure you're all aware, at our receiving station J, which is in the Northridge area, we had a transformer failure. This was one of our receiving station transformers, which basically takes the voltage coming in at 230,000 volts, breaks it down to a lower voltage, which then leaves that station and feeds our distributing stations, which then feeds our neighborhoods, our businesses, and your homes. So roughly a little bit before 7 o'clock on Saturday, one of these transformers failed. The fire department was notified and arrived quickly on scene. The transformer itself area was de-energized. Approximately 70 firefighters were out there fighting the fire. In order to maintain the safety for the fire department and our crews that were respond, it required us to de-energize other basically portions of the station. In this case, there are 4 transformers that feed that station and then feed outside of it. So one of these failed. The other 3 were in working condition, but we had to de-energize them, which basically dropped feed the power to about 140,000 customers within the Valley area. A little before, between 9:30 and 10, the fire was out. We were able at that point, once we knew it was safe, to start to restore power, and shortly after that, by 10 o'clock-ish, we had about 50,000 of those customers back on. We had, I'm very proud of the cooperation. One of my focuses in this role was to build cooperation between all of our divisions to where we were working together more efficiently. And I really saw that evident here. Everybody pitching in, lending a hand, and to see crews working from every part of the power system on this was really quite impressive. By the next morning, by about 6:30, all of the load was restored. That was being fed off the 3 remaining banks transformers within the station. Over this last week, they completed the installation of a smaller temporary transformer that will allow us to have reliability out of that station. Fortunately, we have a spare transformer in that station that we will be in the process of connecting, which will then restore back to full capacity out of that station. That should be done in approximately 4 to 6 weeks. So to start, with this transformer, we will be doing a root cause analysis to determine the exact cause of the failure, so we can compare that with the other transformers we have and look for similar trends that may let us know that we may be having another issue. In this case, this transformer was approximately 48 years old. Of the receiving station type transformers, we have 108 of them within the system. The average age of that population is about 40 years old. With the maintenance we do, we have the ability to prolong the life of these transformers. It's about $4 to $6 million for each of these transformers to replace it. We have a transformer replacement program where we try to replace between 2 and 4 of these transformers proactively each year. So we have in order to do this with 108, each year, each of the transformers are inspected, analysis is done, and it puts a ranking score of each transformer. Between 0 and 4, anything above 2.5 is considered a candidate for replacement. In this case, the transformer that failed was at a 1.4, indicating it was a low risk for failure. Again, we continuously annually do maintenance and inspection on these transformers to evaluate. Our current goal for this fiscal year is to replace 5 transformers. This one obviously will be one of those 5. So, currently with the number of transformers we have and the age and with the maintenance, our replacement cycle currently is about 58 years from start to get through to finish. Again, our current goal, we will replace between 2 and our goal for 5 for this fiscal year. Last year we replaced 4. And again, we'll be coming back to give you more of a full sort of understanding and update on all of our PSRP replacements and sort of walk you through that in the future. So if you have any other questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Andy, can I actually explain one thing real quickly? The transformer is a big box to us. We see wires go in and wires go out. But we know that there is a 20,000 gallons of mineral oil that caught fire. So can you explain what's inside that makes this happen? We don't know what caused it, but what it is.
Well, the cause we don't know. In simple terms, the transformer has an iron core inside of it. The leads come in, the higher voltage 230, in this case 230,000 volt leads come in. They connect through insulated bushings, and then each on the core there's 2 sets of windings or turns, if you will. One is the high side, and then on the secondary side. These 2 windings wrap around the core, and basically from the primary or the high side, magnetic field induces voltage to the secondary side based on the number of turns or windings on that side. So transformers do one of 2 things. They take the voltage from a lower voltage and step it high. We generate at a lower voltage and transform it to high voltage for our transmission. And on the reverse, we bring it in at a higher voltage and then transform it to a lower voltage, either to our stations or to our homes. So there's a ratio of turns. The higher the turns on the primary side and the lower the turns on the secondary side, that transforms the voltage down. And then there's a ratio. So a normal transformer for your house has a ratio of about 20 to 1. So there's 20 more times turns on the windings on the primary side than the secondary side. And then basically, again, there's bushings on both sides for the leads to come out that insulate them from the case of the transformer. So the transformer is just a big case with the core, windings, it's filled with oil for cooling.
And so the oil burns because of a short or something?
Well, in this case, it's hard to tell. The oil can be heated, depending. The oil could be, depending on the heat and the load at the time, the oil can be hot to begin with. When the insulation then breaks down, it can cause an arc internally inside the transformer, which can ignite the oil. Simplistically.
Questions?
Yes.
Commissioner Barad?
Thank you. Was it significant that this was a very, very hot weekend and broke all records?
We think that may be a part of it, but until we do the root cause analysis, I think heat and loading is always significant when we talk about outages.
But people would have been using their air conditioners.
Right. That Saturday was one of the second highest peak for a Saturday of load. Again, we'll be doing the root cause analysis, which will give us an exact cause here coming forward, and we'll know better. But I think that in this case, typically, that's always a consideration when we have outages.
And so once you know what the exact cause is, will you be able to know what to do in the future to prevent this kind of outage?
I think so. Each of these transformers ordered at different times. are sort of unique to themselves. So a certain manufactured transformer ordered in 1970 would be different from another manufacturer ordered in 1980. Is the spec and the manufacturers change. So each one is a little different, but yeah, as we do the analysis and we know what failed, we'll know what to look for in our other transformers as we do our inspections and our maintenance. That will help us to prevent
it sounds
this.
like this is also a case of the infrastructure that we've been talking about.
Absolutely.
I mean, to me, 48 years old is not that old, but in terms of this, it is. I wanted to ask you, since I live in the Valley and had an outage on Saturday night, would you recommend that everyone have a generator so that in case, let's say in the future of an earthquake, that we would have backup power?
I think a generator is something that is really an individual choice. For the most part, even during an earthquake, if you look at the '94 earthquake, for example, we restored power fairly quickly. Our large, circuits were back up. Individual customers were down for a longer period of time. It's an individual choice. There is a cost. There's maintenance involved. It can be, owning a generator. I mean, I work in the industry. I have a generator, and half the time I can't.
Well, that says something.
I can't get mine to start. So, because we operated so infrequently, there's so much to remember that if you have it, if you don't test it monthly and keep that up, then the reality is it doesn't work when you need it. But again, having it wired into your house and having an automatic transfer switch, so that when you start it up, it feeds your house but sectionalizes from the grid, that's very costly. And so again, it goes back to sort of an individual choice, and for the one, maybe 2 times you might need it, there's a lot of expense and maintenance to it. So it's not a one-size-fits-all answer.
Well, the people that I spoke to last week that had generators were recommending that that's what people ought to do because they had electricity.
So I will tell you, kind of leveraging off what Andy said, we do recommend any customer that has any sort of health issues that might have significant health impacts beyond being uncomfortable, that they have a generator. As Andy had also mentioned, it needs to be properly installed, properly placed, because if you're generating energy from a generator into your home and it isn't properly wired and set up, it can literally feed power back into the grid. So as the people are trying to fix the outage, there's energy coming that they have no idea should be there. And it can shock them and cause damage to the people that are trying to bring the service back on. So if you do have a generator, you need to make sure it follows all the permits and requirements. And again, if you've got health issues, we actually do recommend that those customers, it might only be once every 5 years or so, but that can create an impact to someone with health problems.
Also, it depends on the kind of fuel the generator has.
Right.
If it's natural gas powered, that's the easiest, but that network may be in trouble during a big earthquake. If it's gasoline powered, you have the problem with the gasoline in the generator getting old. You also have increased fire risk for storing gasoline.
And Mr. Wright, what do we recommend folks that don't have a generator or can afford one?
It's basically open your windows if it's hot and have a lantern or battery, kind of a battery-powered lantern. And most outages being brief, you go through a period of being uncomfortable, and then I will tell you, being in the industry for a long time, I don't have a generator because it just, on the rare occasions when we have an outage, like everyone else, you suffer through it for usually a shorter period of time.
I look at the value of what would be lost in my refrigerator, and that's the only thing that would be there, and it doesn't justify a generator, and I don't want to store gasoline at my home.
And Andy, can you speak on how fast are we putting folks back fully integrated to electricity again? What's the average? And I'm asking because I think I also hear a lot of complaints in my neighborhood in the recent days about power outages, and I want to be sure that folks know that we're working very promptly to restore power, and I want to know how fast, what's the average that it takes us to restore power.
On average, each customer typically should see an outage of an hour or less on average. It really depends. You know, we spoke about this a little bit earlier. Underground circuits take a little bit longer to restore. One, traffic is always an issue in LA, just getting to the jobs. Finding the location of the problem, if we're fortunate and the vault lid doesn't lift out of the ground, right, that makes it easy to find. The reality is 99% of the time that doesn't happen, so we have to search. And it can take an hour to a couple hours to actually locate the trouble and then make the repairs. On an overhead circuit, those outages are typically restored much quicker, they're much easier to find, and much quicker to restore and replace.
On average, go ahead.
I'm sorry, thank you. Given my tenure serving as a commissioner on this board, I truly would like to applaud not only you, General Manager Wright, but your predecessor, General Manager Edwards, as well as Mayor Garcetti's insistence that customers be served well and transparently. I have seen over 8-9 years how the repair time is a fraction of what it used to be, and also the mode of communication, not only with the board. You are always on top of it. You email all of us. We knew about Cedars-Sinai. Because I get so many emails, I'm always very careful to hit reply all, but I do appreciate reading all of your responses, and I take them seriously, and typically I respond directly to the sender. But that being said, this board takes caring for families very seriously in a very, very unbiased manner. And so there was the comment that you made, you know, your conviction, and I can attest to the fact that over the 8-9 years that I've served on this board, we have made such great progress, and I'm very, very proud of you and your staff.
Thank you.
And I'd like to kind of play off a little bit of what you said, because I've got a statement I'd like to read on reliability, because it's so important to not only me, but I know everybody. And I think it sometimes gets overlooked. And I did write my comments down. I won't read them word for word, but I do want to kind of go through them because I think it's so important. These recent large outages happened basically during a record-breaking heat wave. It was the second hottest Saturday on record in LA. And our system was operating at peak capacity. Hundreds of staff from DWP, and I support them, were out there working around the clock, bringing power back online. I always like to remind people that that's when it becomes manual, that someone is out there fixing a system, working on a system, and they're usually doing it in conditions, Saturday, extreme heat, middle of the night, in the dark, after there's been a fire at a transformer. I mean, we always make sure the conditions are safe for somebody to go in there and make repairs, because that is the primary, beyond everything, that no one is in there making repairs unless the system is safe to work on. System reliability during these extremes are what we plan for, not the average, the extremes. And we build redundancy into our system, as Andy said, and we're continuing to look at additional redundancy because we want as few outages as possible. So we're constantly looking at that infrastructure. Planning for these peak loads is sometimes forgotten. There's been a lot of talk, especially last few years, that we don't need anything because we're doing fine. But this shows this is essentially a weather extreme, and that's what we have to plan for. Everybody talking about climate change is talking about in the future there are going to be more and more weather extremes, and these kind of days are going to become more frequent, and that's what we have to plan for. I can't tell you how, as you said, Commissioner Noonan, how much I admire and appreciate Mayor Garcetti, the City Council, and for me, the Board of Commissioners here, in their support of the recent rate adjustment, because that rate adjustment was essentially almost entirely for infrastructure beyond the amounts required for state requirements and state mandates. And that's a $4.5 billion plan that's going to improve our infrastructure. And it's just started, and it's ramping up. And this comes after several decades where we haven't invested enough in our infrastructure. As Andy mentioned about our reliability, we actually have historically strong reliability. It's better than most metropolitan areas. On average, and again, averages are not the greatest measurement when you've just had a 12-hour outage in your home, but on average across our system, a customer sees less than one outage a year, and when they have it, it's for less than an hour. But you've heard me say this a couple times. Reliability is one of those words to me that doesn't convey how important. You just hear us saying it, but to those of us that work here, reliability is incredibly important. And when I think of reliability, you got to take it down to real examples. When there's an outage, people are stuck in elevators. Not just people stuck in elevators, people with claustrophobia are stuck in elevators. And if it's a major disaster or major emergency, the first responders don't go get people out of elevators first. They go somewhere else. You can be stuck for 4, 6, 8 hours, and people can have physical reactions to being in that area. When there's an outage at a hospital usually served by multiple feeds, all the elective surgeries are canceled. And that doesn't mean like, somebody doesn't get a stitch or something. It means people are having, hip replacements postponed, deviated septums, whatever. And they're hooked up, they've got an IV in them, they're ready to roll into the ER, and they come back and say, sorry, we're going to have to skip this and reschedule. It has significant impact. The one that we all conceptualize something, the one that I've had to do that is just a nightmare to me is the traffic impacts. And it's not gridlock. When you have to turn off energy, which I've had to do in a rolling outage, press the button, and all the traffic signals are essentially not going to work. There's someone out there that isn't familiar with the streets that may go right through an intersection. I had to press that button once at 2 in the afternoon on a school day, and all I could do was pray that some school bus wasn't in an accident. And finally, frail and elderly customers have passed away when there's extended outages. So we have to keep stressing reliability. And frankly, I've worked here, not here, but in the utilities for 30 years. And when you speak with staff, again, that's the most important. But outside, it seems outside the industry, nobody really talks about that. And we've spent a lot of time in the last 15 years, especially in the state capitol, talking about our energy resource mix and sustainability, which I couldn't support more. I supported 100%, but it doesn't seem like there's much discussion about reliability and affordability. And again, we've done and talked about that in LA, and I so appreciate that. And we need to continue stressing that reliability is important, and as is sustainability and cost. But they've got to become part of the conversation. So it seems that we veered away as we've looked 20 and 30 years down the line. I think we need to keep looking 20 and 30 years down the line for resource mixes, but we need to look at a month, 6 months, a year, 2 or 3 years, and make sure that we continue the investment in reliability. The state needs to continue that investment in reliability. We need to rely on existing technologies right now as we test new technologies, and they're made for prime time, but we will constantly stress the reliability has to be pushed and utilized on existing things that we know that can provide that backup for 4, 12, 24 hours. So we'll continue our long-term planning, we'll continue the investigation into everything we need, but you will continually hear us talking about the investment in generation, in transmission, in distribution now that provides that reliability now as we continue to look 20 and 30 years in the future. So that's something we're looking at.
Very much appreciated, and thank you very much. Commissioner Barad?
Yes, I appreciate your comments very, very much, and I'm really glad you're at the helm of this organization. But when we talk about planning for the future and the extreme temperatures that we're going to be having, I think we need to also plan for earthquakes because that is going to happen as well. And I'm not sure what we're doing in terms of planning, for earthquakes and power outages. In the 1994 earthquake, I was without electricity for over 3 days. And that's a long time. And I don't know what's been done since then or what we're planning on doing to plan for what we know we're going to have another earthquake.
We're already using this event to talk with the city's disaster preparedness director and police department, fire department, and this is again another learning tool that we can learn on what more do we need to do from our areas of responsibility, and what more can we help the public. Continuing to say, have water on hand, have some food on hand, literally have a tent in case your house is not safe to live in, just your emergency supplies. That truly is a very important part of disaster preparedness, is being able to live for 3 or 4 days without power and without water.
Yeah, and then what I'm suggesting is, what are we doing in the power side to prepare so that we don't have, power outages. And also, I've been reading more and more about earthquake warning systems and alert systems. What is the city doing to alert people, even if it's just, a minute, that we're going to have an earthquake?
Commissioner, we had previously prepared a power system earthquake presentation for you to look at what we're doing for preparedness. It got, due to the length of the meeting, it got postponed. We can bring that back.
Please do.
The other thing is, in the '94 earthquake, I was a lineman climbing poles in the valley. And a lot of what we saw for outages that lasted past the infrastructure was the transformers shaking and falling off the poles. As part of that, we looked at the specs and how we spec our transformers to deal with just that, so that they're designed to be more resilient when we have an earthquake and not fall. That was for basically 16 hours a day for weeks on end. That's all I did was go replace transformers that were laying at the bottom of the pole. So that's been taken into account, and we consistently look at that going forward as we order new transformers and new equipment. We take that into effect. But we will, again, we did prepare that presentation, and we'll bring it forward.
Thank you.
I think on a similar note, it's very important to state that I feel that our department has made huge progress in considering alternative materials in terms of not so much electricity, but water, especially when it comes to, the very likely chance that we will experience an earthquake in the near term. When I first joined this commission, I was concerned in that I felt that we were relying on old school methodology and using the same vendors to buy steel. Since then, I have a renewed respect towards our staff for really evaluating pipelines that will serve Angelenos' best interests. And that includes doing quite a bit of due diligence with the earthquakes that Japan suffered. And we have since then incorporated their piping into many transition lines where faults may affect Angelenos. So I think that the direction's right. I applaud the department for being very, very thoughtful and diligent in protecting Angelenos at large.
Well, this has been a very, very helpful discussion, and we appreciate your leadership, Dave, on these issues. We've taken substantially more time than we ordinarily do on these preliminary items, but the subject definitely merited the time. See where we go from here. Item number 4 on the agenda is comments from commissioners on agendized items and requests from commissioners relating to departmental operations. Do we have any? We do not. Comments from ratepayer advocate on agendized items.
Anticipating a couple several deferrals. We have no comments on the listed items, but we'll weigh in if needed.
Okay, and on that note, may I have a motion to defer items 15, 16, and 28?
So moved. 15,
Commissioner,
16,
can we
and
add
28?
26 and 27 to that as well for quorum issues?
Let's just take a quick look at these two.
Say it again, please.
15,
16, and 28?
26, well,
26 and
the
27.
motion was 15, 16, and 28. The request is adding 26 and 27. There's a desire to defer those. Is there opposition to that?
I'll have to defer my questions.
Oh, well, well, I'm not sure we can handle that. Those will be added. Is there a motion to defer all 5 of those items?
So moved.
Second. Those in favor?
Aye.
They are deferred. Okay. We now have 2 very important management reports, and we move to them. 6A, Eastern Sierra Runoff Update.
Yes, President Levine, we're going to have our staff and Selmo Collins, he's the Director of Water Operations, and one of the Assistant Directors of Operations, Jim Yanata, is going to be giving this report to the board.
Excellent.
Good morning, Commissioners. Anselmo Collins, Director of Water Operations Division. What we have today is a short video that was taken recently of some of the activities taking place up in the Eastern Sierra. As you're well aware, we had a very heavy year when it comes to snow, and we expected to have a record runoff. We ended up just short of the record. It's the second largest runoff, over 900,000 acre feet of water that we expected to be coming down the Eastern Sierra. I think what makes this unique compared to previous years when we had these high runoffs is that we had Owens Lake. And obviously we've invested over $1 billion of infrastructure out there and needed to be protected. So back in March, the mayor declared a local emergency, which allowed us to be able to move quickly with methods and measures to mitigate some of the impact from this runoff. So we did a lot of that work and continue to do so. Now, what the video is going to show you is a lot of the activities that are taking place currently. We did have a peak in the runoff, maybe a month ago, when temperatures were sustainably around 100 degrees or so. And the men and women that work in the Water Operations Division Aqueduct section, as well as other people that were able to support us, were out there working 24/7. So we had 4 basic goals when it came to managing the runoff. The first one was public safety. Whatever we did, we need to make sure we provide public safety to everybody. We also wanted to maximize the amount of flow that will come from the aqueduct to Los Angeles. The third goal was to protect Owens Lake infrastructure, like I mentioned before. And lastly, we wanted to not spill at Crowley Lake because we had an endangered species that's just south of the dam, and we did not want to destroy that habitat. So those are the 4 main goals that we had. I'm glad to report that I think up to now we've accomplished all 4 of those goals. Jim Yanata, who is the aqueduct manager, is going to walk you through this video and basically let you know what you're looking at here.
Thanks, Anselmo. Good morning, and I'm honored to be here to report of all the work that Aqueduct and other DWP organizations have done up there. This is just a quick snapshot of the enormity of this year's runoff. It's the second highest runoff and snowpack, just only second to 1969. We basically had 203% snowpack of a normal year. And runoff is planned to be over 800,000 acre foot just in runoff. There's other sources of water, basically flowing wells and so forth, that will add to it. So there's essentially double the amount of water available in the Owens River Basin than what LA could drink in an entire year.
Jim,
yes.
Can I ask a quick question? The vertical red line going down, that's the snow melting rapidly, right?
Yes, in fact, this is only of the snow courses. There's still a lot of snow that are at higher elevations above where our snow courses are. We have snow courses there that we operate, DWP, but we also get information from the state that they're up in the mountains there, but there's still a lot of snow up in the Eastern Sierra, so don't take that as though there's no snow left. This is just based on our snow pillows.
And then those those other dotted lines, are they different years of the same thing, or what are the non-red lines?
Yes. So the one that's in green, that's the other large one. That's in 82, 83. That's the one actually we just exceeded in snowpack and runoff. The one that's a hard black dotted line, that's a normal, if we ever had a normal year, and I haven't seen one in 6 years, nor for the last 30. And the other one was 215, 216, what it was, that was last year. And the low one down there was our lowest, the driest year on record, which was 2 years ago. The last 5 years prior to this was our worst 5-year consecutive drought. And all of a sudden now we get the second wettest. So that's even more of why we should be applauding all of the efforts of our crews and what we're doing. Here we were trying to manage for a severe drought, and now it's totally the opposite.
Any way of predicting next year?
You know, I have a Ouija board, but that is not too accurate. But we do get information from NOAA. We do kind of look at the atmospheric rivers, as they call it, to try to give us an indication. That information's better for the current year you're in versus projecting years out.
Now, perhaps I'm mistaken, and if I am, please correct me. But I believe, having served on Owens Valley Standing Committee, there was a fact that I believe was shared with me that I thought was very interesting. Given the drought and then this huge rainfall, I believe that an expert stated that if you look at history, typically there's a huge amount of rainfall every third year following 10 years. And so please correct me if I'm mistaken, but I think this is very important to address for a couple of reasons. A, I applaud you and your staff working with the communities in Owens Valley, given the massive amount of rainfall and snow that is pouring down to this region. One difficulty has been that because of our drought, the soil could not absorb all of this water, and you've done an outstanding effort in redirecting the water in an appropriate and fair way. The other reason I think it's important to address whether or not my recollection is astute is I think Angelenos, I know for a fact that Angelenos have done an outstanding job of water conservation. And even though there's these reports about the massive amount of water that's pouring down from up north, I think it's very, very crucial that Angelenos understand that we may be fortunate for this year, maybe next year, but typically this goes in a traditional way. And so it's very important for all of us to consider conservation.
Yeah. Well, we have bar charts showing snowpack and runoff in the eastern Sierra, and it's very cyclical. We may have 1 or 2 good years, but then it's followed by 3, 4, 5 years of very dry years. And very few times do we have a normal year. It's usually the extreme.
I have a question. So I have been following up on the precipitation, and it's exciting to see the amount of water that we're getting. My question is, can you share with stakeholders and with the rest of the board members, how are we either capturing or storing this water? Where does this water goes? What are we doing with the excess of water? And I also want to just remind people that, like you stated earlier, this is an unusual year, and we continue seeing the effects of climate change with the extreme weather patterns, and that we should continue conserving water and continue the practices that we're being implemented here at DWP, and that people have been very receptive and utilizing all these different services and rebates. But I'm curious to know, where is the excess of water is now going? And specifically, can you speak a little bit about the comment that somebody had earlier about bringing this water to the Owens Lake, and how is that, coming about?
Yeah. So as we go through this video, I'll be explaining all that essentially. So if we could, let me go through it with this. No, that space bar should do it. Hold on a sec. I guess not. Here we go. So this is just a view of Mono Lake. You're all familiar with. It's just north of our aqueduct system, and because it's such a wet year, we don't believe we're going to be exporting any water from the Mono Basin. We've just got to have so much excess water now. This is the Levining intake structure. It's the northernmost part of the aqueduct, just west of Mono Lake, and now we're flowing into an area here. This is into Long Valley. If you drive north of Mammoth, there's a place called Dead Man's Summit. North of that is the Mono Basin. South of that is Long Valley. And the importance of that is that's the start of the Owens River Basin. And Lake Crowley is right there, or Long Valley Reservoir. It's our largest reservoir in the aqueduct system, about 183,000 acre foot. This reservoir is so important, it allows us to operate. But one of the things that, as Anselmo said earlier, the biggest challenge we had earlier this year, because of the extreme snowpack that we were receiving, the concern of if we didn't operate this in a fashion, we could have likely spilt water over the dam and affected an endangered species area, which is right there, which is this area here, Owens to Chub. And I submitted an emergency notification to Cal Fish and Wildlife so that we could flow 400 CFS through the gorge, into the gorge, because the control gorge power plant was out of service. That way we could lower the reservoir to avoid having to spill it as runoff would have occurred later in the spring and summer.
What is the endangered species there?
It's called the Owens to Chub. It's a very small fish. And we're going here, and this is the power system's upper gorge power plant. There's 3 identical plants, about 37.5 megawatts each. The flow north of it is only from dam seepage. So this pipe here is a penstock from the water from Crowley Lake. That's really part of the aqueduct system. And that water goes in through the penstocks, feeds the middle gorge, and also we release water into the gorge itself. We're flowing south into Pleasant Valley Reservoir there. This is the power system, has a smaller power plant. I think it's 2.7 megawatts. And this is the actual start of the Middle Owens River. It meanders quite a ways, and let me just stop it here. About a month and a half, 2 months ago, there was 2 young gentlemen driving a car, and they lost control, and it's in the Middle Owens River, submerged by about 12 foot. There was no way for us to stop flows, to recapture that vehicle. We are doing water quality monitoring. There's been no issue. But that's something why it's so great working at Water and Power. We've got such great experts, and we're out there sampling. But that's the extreme this year. There's so much water that we're operating not as normal. Just meander through, and there's just an example just north of Bishop, just a roadway that's flooded. This is the enormous runoff that's occurring. This photo was taken about 3-4 weeks ago. I was on that road like 2 months ago. Well, I couldn't have been there 3 weeks ago. But this is the uncontrolled flooding that we do our best to control whatever we have the ability, because we have the rights to all the tributaries that flow into the Owens River. But just because of the amount of water, there's no way that you could control everything. This is a picture of the LA Aqueduct intake. You could see how full the water is at the south end of the Middle Owens River. We're flowing now at the intake in the range of up to 600 cubic feet per second. We get up to 400 cubic feet per second of streams that go into the aqueduct south of this. It's pretty amazing. Push forward, Jim. That would help. There's excavators there that are there that actually clean out the aqueduct itself. And this is the intake for the Lower Owens River project. We put that in service about 10 years ago, where we rewatered the final 63 miles of the Lower Owens River. That was an environmental project that we moved forward on, and we have released flows of excess of 350 CFS in there. And we're spreading water east of the river itself, and I'll talk more about our spreading activities. This is just an example of all the water that's just wound up on the valley floor. Now, I've never seen this in my tenure at DWP until this year. And you could have seen this all along. Now, this is Owens Lake. This shows you the various sorts of dust control measures we have. We have shallow flooding, we have gravel, we have vegetation. And our concern for Owens Lake, there's another picture of Owens Lake. This is crusty brine, which actually serves well as a dust control measure. The concern that we had because of this excess, we were anticipating potentially 200,000 acre-foot of excess water flooding Owens Lake. That would have raised the water level of Owens Lake 7 foot. It would have inundated, would have damaged hundreds of millions of dollars of dust control infrastructure. And if we had 200,000 on there, it would have taken 18 months for the water to recede. In that period of time, we would have health issues because we weren't able to adequately control dust. Now, all the stuff that we've done thus far, I think we've controlled over 95% of the dust issues at Owens Lake. So it's very important, all the infrastructure we've done, and for us to maintain it. So that was one of the key things that we needed to avoid doing, do our best to avoid doing. And you see these very large sandbags, if you call it. These are huge. They're probably 4 or 5 foot diameter in height. And we had to armor. This is called a berm. You see shallow flooding here. The berm separates the shallow flooding from the managed vegetation and from the brine crust. We couldn't have those commingle, or a lot of that would have been destroyed. So we did quite a bit of work at Owens Lake, and the Brady Highway, which is a highway that goes through Owens Lake, that would have been inundated. This view here is of the lower Owens River pumpback station. This is at the south end of the lower Owens River, the north end of the Owens River of the Owens Lake Delta. All these tules here, if we had not created a channel within those tules, the water would have hit that and just spread out and caused a lot more flooding that you see here. So thus far, we've only seen about 15,000 acre-foot. Let me step back. We've only seen about 15,000 acre-foot of excess water go onto Owens Lake. That is incredible compared to the potential of 200. So I'm going to show you now the next slide, or the next section, of what has our crews done to minimize that excess water from going on Owens Lake. This is just a picture of an excavator. This is operated by our aqueduct crews. In some cases, we have fleet crews. We have power construction and maintenance crews assisting us there. And we've got about 30 major streams and creeks that we have water rights to that flow into the LA aqueduct system. And this is right here. This is basically a sand trap. This is right before the water then makes its way into the aqueduct. Normally, flows aren't that high. Water will go in there, the sand and debris will just settle out. We get clean water. Well, because of the excessive amount of flows, these creeks are flowing hundreds of cubic feet per second. And we've had operators there 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, because if we don't do that, if we didn't do that during the high runoff, the sand traps would have just filled up, and the water would have just spread out, causing flooding not only on the ground but on roadways and into towns. And this is just a picture of all the dirt and rocks that we remove. Those excavators are there. They're constantly removing that stuff. Now, I really want to note the cooperation that we received from the agencies. First of all, most of the pictures that I just showed you, that is on either Forest Service or BLM property. The City of LA owns property on the valley floor, but the creeks are essentially on BLM and Forest Service property. They were very cooperative, allowing us to do this work. Ordinarily, it would take months, several months to get permits. They understood the enormity of the situation, and they worked very well with us, much like Cal Fish and Wildlife, Lahontan. So we got great agency cooperation on this. This is just an example of a creek and a culvert that was damaged and just needed to be repaired by the crews. This right here is called Gooddale Creek. It's just north of the town of, just west of the aqueduct intake, north of Independence. This is, that creek started to overflow its banks and spill out away from the creek. So this is an example of our crews having to reestablish the creek so we could put the water back in. This is a picture of the Division Creek intake. It's about 6,700 foot in elevation, where water comes into the forebay and then feeds the penstock. This is actually the intake bypass line. And this is a sort of work that we had to go up there working with the power system to do repairs. This is just one example of many. And what's so interesting about this picture is this is Highway 395. It's called Sims Creek, just north of the town of Independence. This is a culvert that's in the median between the southbound lanes are beforehand. The furthest lane here, that's the northbound lanes. There was erosion. Our aqueduct and reservoir keeper noticed. He could look in there and see that it was already being undermined. So we went there. We actually did the work for Caltrans. Our crews saw cut. We removed the old culvert. We replaced the new culvert here. And the last picture on your bottom right is that evening we're compacting the soil on top. Caltrans went back in and they actually paved it. But what was so great about that, or so necessary, is 395 needed to be opened. And if we hadn't have done that, we would have lost water, and it would have been much harder for us to spread water. Now, the question that you had asked, Commissioner, what are we doing with all that excess water? In the past, our peak years, we may have recharged about 100,000 acre-foot of water into the Owens Valley aquifer. This year, we've already spread and recharged 180,000 acre-foot. And that's because of all the actions of our crews going there. This is an example of clearing out a creek and or spreading basin. The spreading basin is because we've had a drought. If you don't scarify the top of a spreading basin, it gets very impervious. So we have to go there and we scrape the top off just so when we then apply water, it could then recharge the groundwater basin or the groundwater aquifer.
May I comment on your concerns? Because I do think that we are very like-minded, and I'm very excited to partner with you, serving on the Owens Valley Committee. I want to applaud you. This is a strategy that took place way before this water arrived. I mean, you've been strategically, analytically, methodically thinking about how to spread out this water without causing damage and doing good for everyone. That being said, I stated, and I think the department has honored the fact that the department has used and will continue to use its best efforts to distribute as much water as possible to our Native American constituents and community, as well as to our agriculturists and ranchers. And I've already heard positive feedback about that. And so I'm very proud of you prioritizing while seriously undertaking the strategy and implementation of, meeting the expectations of so many different groups.
Well, in fact, we started planning. Once we saw December, the snowpack just skyrocketed. We already had known this is going to be much more than just a normal year. So between my operations, maintenance, construction, engineering, and watershed staff, we got together and figured out, okay, what are we going to do? Because we hadn't had to do any of that for the last 5 years because it was so dry. But we historically, if you looked at 82, 83, or 69, there were areas that we hadn't really needed to maintain because we were in a drought. We were already figuring out, okay, what do we need to do? And again, it was so important for us to work with the agencies, Fish and Wildlife, BLM, U.S. Forest Service. They were areas that they allowed us to work on that ordinarily we would have never been able to do. But they all recognized the enormity of the situation. If we hadn't have been up there working on these creeks and ditches and areas, a lot of this water would have flooded out areas on the roadway, in towns, and we would not have been successful or as successful recharging the Owens Valley groundwater aquifer. Now, in the last 5-year drought, the groundwater levels in the Owens Valley aquifer were relatively consistent, constant. So, it wasn't that we were actually lowering it. But this year, we're going to do an amazing job to increase the groundwater levels throughout the Owens Valley aquifer, areas from 1 to 5 foot. And this is a picture of the McNally spreading grounds just northeast of Bishop. This is an example of open sort of spreading grounds that we needed to prep. There's areas in the Big Pine area that's volcanic. When you drive up there, you see a lot of black rocks and so forth. There's really no spreading basins, but you put water in there, it just goes right in the ground. It's very porous there. We also have spreading areas further south along the aqueduct too. So I just wanted to end it by just giving you some numbers. I said we've already spread 180,000 acre foot this year. We have only put 15,000 of excess water in Owens Lake, so hopefully we can minimize any sort of damage on Owens Lake. I think that's probably going to happen, but it's only due to all the efforts that we put forth in planning and hard work with our people in the field. We've had over 120 aqueduct staff. We had over 25 fleet staff out there working with us, and about 15 power construction and maintenance staff. And I really appreciate, I want to thank Andy, and I want to thank Tom Anderberg, not here. At least I don't see him, but I really appreciate their help working with us. Along with us participating in the interagency up there with Inyo County, Caltrans, and California Edison is up there, and other agencies where we meet on a biweekly basis to figure out what's going on and what else needs to happen. But I'm just very proud to represent the aqueduct. Thank you.
Congratulations on an ongoing job, consistently well done. I have just one question. It's very heartening to hear about all the cooperation that we've received from all the agencies that you mentioned. How's the cooperation been from Great Basin?
Actually, I failed to mention, and which I should have. We've been working very closely with them. They support. They've even told me how much they appreciate all the efforts that we've been doing to manage the excess water, throughout the Owens Valley and on Owens Lake. A few numbers I should have mentioned. We cleaned and mowed 130 miles of ditches. We removed over 200,000 cubic yards of debris and sediment and rocks from waterways. Diversion structures, we had to either prepare or repair about 80 of them. These are structures, when you take water off of a creek, you kick it out to our spreading basins. Measuring stations, we have to repair. We repaired over 18. And the culverts, as the one example, we worked on over 250 culverts. Without those, we would have had a lot more flooding on roadways and in towns.
Terrific. Questions, comments? Thank you. And again, job well done, or in the process of being very well done.
Thank you.
6B, Cadiz report.
Yes, President Vine, we have a very quick PowerPoint presentation for your board on the Cadiz Valley Water Conservation Recovery and Storage Project. Delon Kwan, who is the manager of our Water Resources Development Group, is going to be giving you that presentation, then we'll answer any questions you might have.
Okay, good morning, President Levine and Commissioners. So I'm going to give you a quick update on the Cadiz Conservation Project, as well as an assessment from staff in terms of what we believe are the pros and cons of the project. Just one quick thing to note. So this is not a DWP project. DWP is not a project participant. So the information I'm going to present to you is based on a high-level review and assessment based on information that's publicly available. So just to give you a quick overview, you've seen this map before of California, where the city's water supplies come from. The Cadiz property and the proposed project location is here, shown here in the red circle, roughly about 240 miles from LA in the Mojave Desert in the East San Bernardino County area. As you can see here, it's pretty close proximity to Metropolitan Water District's Colorado River Aqueduct system. The other important thing to note here, too, there is no direct connection or water conveyance system that the proposed project has to LADWP's water system. So just to give you a quick overview of the project watershed boundaries that are within the proposed project, there are 4 watersheds here. The 2 largest ones are the Fenner watershed to the north, Bristol watershed to the west. You have the Cadiz watershed here to the south, and then the smaller watershed, the Orange Blossom, to the north. In total, the watersheds consist of about roughly 2,700 square miles. This is a closed drainage system, so essentially everything that drains from here, the only natural outlet this has is through evaporation. Cadiz's property, majority of it is located here in this red circle area here. You can see it kind of coincidentally also is the confluence of the watersheds. Everything that drains from this watershed goes into this kind of center red circle area in Cadiz's property. You can also see to the north of there the federal lands that are adjacent to the area. To the north there is the Mojave National Preserve, managed by the National Park Service, and then to the south there is Joshua Tree. So the one thing to note too, the recharge for this watershed area comes from rainfall and snow melt from the watershed that basically, when it melts and runs off, it seeps into the ground and it infiltrates into the ground. You can see in relation to MWD's Colorado River Aqueduct here, located roughly about 43 miles to the south. And then the Arizona and California Railroad right-of-way that extends from the project location to MWD's Colorado River Aqueduct, roughly about 43 miles away, and I'll talk a little bit more in a later slide on this right-of-way. So the project has primarily 3 main objectives. The conservation portion of it essentially is to capture this runoff before it reaches the lower portions of the dry lake where it evaporates. So the conservation aspect of this is a little different than what we're used to hearing with conservation. When we think of conservation, it's water use reduction, advancing water use efficiency. This conservation project is to essentially capture it and then to put it to beneficial use before it's lost to evaporation. Another major component of the project is to obviously establish that conveyance system from the project site to connect to MWD's Colorado River Aqueduct system. It's important to note, too, that there is, at least as far as we understand, there is no current agreement with MWD to connect to their system. So the question is still out there in terms of how to convey the water to beneficial use outside of this property location. And then the storage component is to eventually make use of the groundwater basin for storage, so in a conjunctive use manner. Essentially, when there's surplus water available, store that surplus in wet years and then use the water in dry years. So I'm going to walk you through real quick in terms of what the project overview, or how the project proposes to be operated. Essentially, you see here the area with the mountain runoff, and then you see here what's below ground, the aquifer system, and then the migration of that fresh groundwater that seeps into the ground, moving towards from right to left underground to the Bristol Dry Lake, which is then where the water would then evaporate. So what the project proposes to do is pretty straightforward. They propose to sink groundwater wells to extract the fresh water as it seeps into the ground, and then convey it through an underground pipeline roughly about 43 miles away to MW's Colorado River Aqueduct system. So based on our review of the high-level review of the documents, we can kind of understand the conservation portion benefit of the project. We also can kind of see the potential water storage component and how that would benefit in dry years, helping enhance dry year supply. But a couple of the concerns that we have also in terms of what some of the project opponents have brought up in terms of safe yield. So some of the natural recharge estimates that the project claimed, roughly about 30,000 acre-feet per year. We are aware that there are some project opponents that are challenging some of the analysis there in terms of the safe yield. Some are even referring to a prior study where the safe yield is actually a lot less than 30,000 acre-feet, more in the range of potentially 5,000 acre-feet per year. So given those concerns about potential safe yield and what that might have to potential impacts to groundwater production from the project, the potential for environmental impacts, also the lack of an agreement with MWD or others to convey that water, we kind of don't see how there's a potential water supply benefit right now to the city. So the project will potentially have some mitigation and monitoring measures. You can see here some of the areas that they're going to have to monitor as they operate this proposed project when it gets to that point. There are potential concerns with groundwater levels and groundwater quality that the project will monitor. They will also be monitoring spring flows, both visually and in flow measurements. They'll be also monitoring for any land subsidence, and obviously the last one for dust mitigation and air quality concerns. So this is my last slide. I just wanted to give you an overview of what the last couple of years milestones that the project has seen. Santa Margarita Water Agency is a CEQA lead agency. In 2012, they certified the project EIR. With the recent administration, the Bureau of Land Management had reversed its prior permit decision in 2015 for the construction and use of the pipeline right-of-way with the Arizona and California Railroad right-of-way. So that essentially potentially now sets for the path for the project to pursue this permit to construct this pipeline. But we still see a major component of this project lacking a conveyance method to potentially bring the water to areas outside of this project for beneficial use. A couple of things other of concern that we've also noticed. If they're thinking about looking at use of MW's Colorado River Aqueduct as if there's unused capacity, MWD has long-term plans in terms of making sure through their land fallowing program partnership that they have with PVID and some other programs with storage in Lake Mead to have a full Colorado River Aqueduct. So the likelihood of there in the long term being any available unused capacity on the Colorado River Aqueduct is pretty unlikely with Met's long-term planning efforts. So kind of given all these things to consider, along with potential issues or concerns with safe yield analysis and potential environmental impacts, at least in staff's opinion right now, we don't see any supply benefits for this project to the city. And keep in mind, this is not a DWP project. We have not signed on to be a project participant. Just looking at some of the project participants that Cadiz has obtained, there's not a lot of potential project groundwater pumping that they may have available, so it looks like the project's fully subscribed already. So that concludes my brief presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Well, I have some questions. Can you go back a couple of slides to the one where you're showing the extraction of the water below that one? What is the potential damage to the to the desert floor from the extraction of this water beneath the surface?
So they're going to have to monitor, one of the things that they're going to monitor is groundwater elevations as well as water quality. So there are potential concerns that I showed in the other slide with land subsidence potentially. Obviously, if they draw down the water table too much and don't operate this in a way how they committed to, there could be more dust that gets generated as a result.
I mean, isn't the ultimate goal of this project for the developers to sell water and make money, and wouldn't their ultimate objective be to get as much water as they possibly can and to be willing to take chances with regard to extracting more water than is safe environmentally?
I mean, from an engineering standpoint, I mean, again, this is not our project. We were not involved with the EIR. We were not involved with the studies. But just looking at some of the information the project has presented, as well as some of the project opponents have raised issues with safe yield, you know, and then with the lack of a conveyance system to MWD's Colorado River Aqueduct, we don't see how this, you know, this water from this proposed project could ever become, you know, put to beneficial use outside of this area within the private property.
What are the economic incentives for the developers here?
If I could chime in, you know, originally the project, I believe, actually had higher deliveries that were planned on because it was thought there's a large stored groundwater basin. And so certainly the more water you can sell, you have people to sign up for, or pay to have people pay to use the storage. But one of the key things I know Delon pointed out earlier was that there's a question about the safe yield is, which means how much can you take every year and have it replenished? Because I remember originally I heard about the project and there's this kind of endless pool of water that can just be drawn upon, and we know that you can't just draw water out and not replace it without having some kind of adverse impact. So certainly those wanting to develop the project would benefit from having the highest safe yield because they could theoretically market that with having a neutral condition in the environment. But there's also a big question about whether that safe yield is real and whether it's a lot less water. Certainly the cost of a pipe 43 miles long to the Colorado River Aqueduct, even if there's capacity, which Delon and I discussed earlier about all the projects that Met has to make sure that they use all their capacity because they have their own needs and their own business plan. But even if there was capacity, you need to move more water to make that affordable. You know, at this price, at this point, we haven't really heard any costs of water, whether it's economical or not. It's a business to sell water, and as water gets more expensive from other sources, then maybe there's an economic justification. We don't see anything in this project that appeals to the city of Los Angeles.
I don't want to take a lot of time on this in light of where we are at this point in the agenda, but I would like a deeper dive on this. Candidly, from everything I've seen about this project, the investment that will be required in order to turn a profit is going to require that the developers do everything they can to maximize their intake of water. And by doing that, from what I understand about the environmental impacts, even though this report talks about environmental benefits, doesn't talk about environmental costs. And I think the environmental costs are potentially, I hesitate to use the word catastrophic, but certainly dangerous to the Mojave Desert. I will acknowledge a degree of historical interest in it personally. When I was in the House, I was the initial author of the California Desert Protection legislation, which I was able to get passed by the House, but at that time we couldn't get it through the Senate. Subsequently, Senator Feinstein did get that bill through the Senate. It became law. That's what accounted for the protection of the Mojave Desert and the surrounding areas and a variety of protected sites. And in talking with others who have been involved in this history, there's a great deal of real concern about the damage it can do to the environment. I'd like to know more about that. And if that is in fact the case, I'd be interested in our considering opposing this. But I'd like a deeper dive on this project before reaching any conclusions. I don't think this is sufficient, frankly.
We'll look for more information. We're a little limited by what's available publicly to us, but we'll see if there's anything else that we have available to us.
Other questions or comments?
No, I was also going to request to have an environmental impact statement for us, so could you just repeat?
Well, they have an environmental impact statement, and it's been approved, unfortunately, and I am told that that it was not drafted as aggressively as it should have been.
Right.
I don't know why.
And that statement was originally rejected by the Bureau of Reclamation, and then subsequently was changed to be accepted. So, and there are some state legislative moves right now that would provide some additional oversight in the case that CEQA was not stringent enough. And so that's we're looking to see what happens in the House right now, in the Assembly right now.
Well, I'd like to know more about it. Thank you.
We have 2 speaker cards for this item.
That's fine. Please call them.
Okay, the first speaker is Eileen Anderson.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. I'm Eileen Anderson. I'm with the Center for Biological Diversity, and my organization and I have opposed this project since the 1990s, primarily because of the impacts to water sources for plants and wildlife in the Mojave National Preserve. And now the surrounding area is, of course, one of California's newest monuments, the Mojave Trails National Monument, and that surrounds the Cadiz project. We're really concerned that these risks are very real about dewatering these very iconic places and are of grave concern. The wildly differing recharge rates of the basin by the project proponent versus the independent hydrologists and even our own United States Geological Survey just really calls into question how what exactly the safe yield is there. We certainly enjoyed the update today, and we will be submitting more information on this project to you because we've been involved for so long. We'd also like to point out, which was brought up to alluded to, the current legislation AB 1000, which was introduced by Assemblymember Friedman recently, and it proposes an important safeguard for the state oversight for the groundwater in the Cadiz area. And we certainly urge the Commission to review this bill and consider supporting it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And we would welcome whatever material you wish to provide. Thank you.
Okay, the next speaker is Chris Clark.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I'm Chris Clark. I'm California Desert Program Manager for the National Parks Conservation Association, another longtime opponent of the Cadiz project. And I did bring some information for commissioners, which I'm happy to hand over. Much of what I prepared to say today has already been gone over both by Ms. Anderson and by your excellent engineering staff report. I just want to clarify a couple of things. First off, the low end of recharge estimates according to the U.S. Geological Survey for a previous iteration of this project are as low as 2,000 acre-feet a year. So that's around 4% of what the project would be drawing potentially per year from the aquifer. The situation with NEPA review and CEQA review is rather complicated. Essentially, NEPA review killed the earlier iteration of this project by highlighting some of the potential dangers to the surrounding area, including a number of springs that are crucial for wildlife in what's now the Mojave Trails National Monument. And as a result, the Metropolitan Water District pulled out of its agreement with Cadiz, and that essentially killed the project. With the current iteration of the project, Cadiz has done what it can to avoid NEPA review, thus avoiding USGS analysis and potential updating of their hydrological estimates, which is why we're talking about a conveyance along the railroad right-of-way. Essentially, exempting them from triggering that federal nexus and triggering NEPA review. The Obama administration in its last months in office found that that did not in fact exempt them from a NEPA review and demanded it. That was recently reversed by the Trump administration to some extent, and that is being litigated at the moment. It's our contention that a thorough NEPA review, in addition to CEQA review, would reveal that this project is not sustainable and poses a serious danger, as federal scientists in both USGS and the National Park Service have suggested, to wildlife both in and out of national parks and monuments, in addition to potential air quality issues, both with drying up of the saline lakes and other issues. AB 1000, which was introduced and amended by Assemblymember Friedman, would increase oversight by the state agencies, including California Fish and Wildlife and the State Lands Commission, into this project. And the National Parks Conservation Association strongly urges you to consider supporting this bill, and we thank you for your continuing support of the California desert. In particular, the Soda Mountain decision that commissioners made a couple of years ago was a huge benefit to the Mojave National Preserve, and it's sad that the preserve needs your help again, but it does, and I thank you for that.
Thank you. Okay, I want to move the calendar, the agenda around a little bit and see how much of the open session we can complete before going to the closed session. But before going to the open session action items, we have some monthly reports under filed items, agenda item 8. 8A, Chief Administrative Officer, June 2017.
Commissioners, the report is in your packet. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Thank you. Item B, Financial Services Organization, April 2017.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Yes, the FSO report is available in your packet, and I can answer any questions you may have.
Any questions? Thank you. Power System, May 2017.
Yeah, Commissioners, items C and D are both in your packets, and I'd be happy to answer questions.
Questions? Water System, January and February 2017.
Yes, the reports are in your packages, Commissioners, and I also have asked Yvette if she would pass out our annual Water Distribution Division reliability report card. And that goes right in line with some of the comments you've made before in this meeting about the goals for reliability that were set during our rate adjustment. And in here you'll see how we've been doing in relation to those goals. I'll highlight two very quickly. Our mainline replacement goal was reached of 184,000 feet, and that was completed in June of 2017. This current fiscal year's goal has increased significantly. That goal for this year is 215,000 acre feet of mainline replacement. And the second goal I'll highlight is the small meter replacement goal for last fiscal year was 27,500 meters, and we achieved that goal. This year we've increased that goal. It's going to be 29,500 replaced meters. So quite a lot of work has been done. We've been meeting the goals that were set during the rate adjustment that we achieved, and so it's a good news story as far as reliability and investments and accomplishments as far as the water system reliability is concerned.
As it relates to the details within this report card, is this available for ratepayers online? Because I do think I haven't had the chance to read it in detail, but I think it's valuable information that should be shared with everyone.
Thank you. We will do that. We've been making this available through our Public Affairs Department. We've also made it available to requests we've gotten from the Mayor's office, from the media, and also from the public as well. So.
One quick.
Go ahead.
One quick. Can you give me a progress report on the trunk line that's on Lancashire? When you expect that to be finished?
I will refer to Brianna Lindsay if he's here in the audience on that. And he's not, so we'll have to come back to you on that.
Will you get back to me?
Yeah. Oh, here he is.
I see Brioni and Susan debating who's going to take responsibility.
I thought you were.
Notice I didn't look in your direction.
And how firm of a date do you wish to provide?
Yeah, I saw you ducking back there, Brioni.
Actually, I wasn't trying to duck, but I was going to refer to Susan because the planning portion is under her.
Come on up.
Okay, I see who's coming.
So Susan is the director of our Water Engineering Technical Service Division. Brioni is, of course, the director of our Water Distribution System.
So I believe you're talking about our city, not our city, our river supply conduit 5 and 6, and that's pretty much both a tunneling project and an open trench project. So I'm not sure where, and they have various portions of the job that we're opening and working on, so I'm not sure what portion you're referring to. I could get you more information based on where you're interested, because that's quite a long
I've been
project.
hearing from some of the businesses on Lancashire that are having a really rough time because there's no place for people to park, and there's an open trench in front of their establishments, and every time I hear a date, it's a different date. So I wonder what the date is now where that will be finished.
Is this where the sound wall was out in front, that area? So, one thing that Susan's staff did early on is they did procure 2 parking areas behind, which are a little bit of a walk for patrons there. But that was also one of the places that we did our kickoff for the assistance program.
Right.
And we are working on a report on that for you for the assistance program.
Councilman Paul Kerkorian and I handed out those checks.
Yes.
So I remember
and
it
that
very
program's
well.
in process and working.
Yes.
And we have a report we're preparing for that.
Are we going to get a report on that?
Yes, you will soon. Yes, the report's being worked on right now.
Oh, good. That was my next question. Thank you very much. Okay. So when do we expect that trench will be, that all that will be completed? Is there a completion date?
Yes, there is a completion date. I'll have to get back to you in terms of exactly when.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Caught us off guard.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Okay, item 9, discussion with neighborhood council.
Wait, sorry. Did we went over the renewable portfolio standard projects?
Yes, it was C and D. Did you have any?
Yeah, just, sorry, I missed that.
Well, he snuck it in.
I saw the report, and it's very exciting to see all the efforts that the WP has been making on renewables. I would like to also see included here our efforts on energy storage.
So you want to see those added?
Yeah, simply because we're making such great progress, and I think it's worth for people to see, and also for the rest of the commissioners to be up to speed and all how are we integrating all the renewables together.
Okay, good idea.
In my opinion, I applaud you. This is a huge issue for us. Our solar incentive has gone skyrocketing, and our trouble right now is just storing that energy. In fact, we're selling a lot of our solar energy. My understanding is that we are working with the top experts, the top universities, and almost on a monthly basis, they're bettering their storage strategies. But I believe that's something that this department really has to stay on top of and apprise this board of. So thank you for that.
Definitely, and I just want to add that just last week I had a very good meeting, also talking about what do we do and really tackling this, this messaging around having too much renewables and how we're not utilizing them. So I think that this is great that we're looking into this. So I really want to applaud the staff. It's very, very exciting to see how much they're thinking about and innovative ways, as you mentioned, with so many other experts to really get DWP to be a pioneer and a leader in the country on renewables, specifically for those that are needed the most and are most affected by pollution and climate change.
All right, we'll take care of that. Terrific. Thank you. Okay, now to agenda item 9. Discussion with neighborhood council representatives on any neighborhood council resolution or community impact statement filed with the city clerk, which relate to any agenda item listed or being considered on this agenda for the Water and Power Board.
No community impact statements or formal positions were filed by any neighborhood councils on the items on today's agendas.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of the regular and special meetings of June 20th?
I move to approve.
Second, is there any discussion? Those in favor?
Aye.
They are approved. Okay, on the open items prior to the closed session, we have deferred items 15, 16, 26, 27, and 28. I would like to move item 12 to the end of this list because there is a closed session item also relevant to item 12. We will hear it, and there are speaker cards, and we'll hear it just before we go into closed session. Do commissioners wish to remove any so far unremoved item between items 11 and 34 from the consent calendar?
Yes.
Commissioner Barat.
Okay, item 25 and item 33.
Don't go too fast.
25
Wait. 25
and 33.
and 33 will be removed. Are there others? Okay, hearing none, is there a motion to approve items 11, 13, 14, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 29, 30, 31, 32, and 34? So moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Those items are approved. I just have an administrative question on item 34. Are we not presenting this resolution at this time that we've just...
No, there's no presentation requested on this
Okay,
one.
very good. Okay, so we are left to consider in open session items 12, 25, and 33. First, we'll take item 25. Commissioner Broad?
Yes. Okay. I wanted to get some clarification about what sites we're referring to in this number 25 and what projects are covered by this agreement. It wasn't
afternoon.
clear. Hi.
Hi. We have a brief presentation that lists the sites. We can run through that at least the slides that have the sites in question.
Okay, yeah, it's not clear in our material what sites we're referring to or what projects are covered. So if you could just fill me in on that.
Yeah. Do you want to go ahead and do this? So this contract amendment covers a number of different activities around our cleanup of hazardous materials, and so there's a number of different categories, but there's a lot of unanticipated work that has resulted primarily from interaction with the regulatory agencies. So some of the schedules are a little unpredictable, so there's been a lot more activity around a number of sites than we had originally anticipated. But I think, Josephine, if you go to the next slide.
Next
one. Why don't you kind of walk through this quickly?
These are the sites that we have voluntary cleanup agreements with the Department of Toxic Substances Control. As you can see, there are some of our very complex sites, Sylmar Converter Station. That is a lot of a legacy that resulted from the '94 earthquake and cleanup that we're still doing from there. With these types of projects, they're very long-term. We have, first we look to see what contaminants are there, then we have to see the extent of the contamination, and then we have to put together plans of what we might do. And each step along the way, the Department of Toxic Substances or whichever regulator we're working with reviews the plans, reviews what we've submitted. They might ask for more information before they allow us to come up with a work plan. Those work plans have to be approved. And so that's a very long, drawn-out purpose, and we don't know when we're going to get those approvals. So we have to have a kind of a crystal ball when we're first doing these estimates when we put in the contract. And it just so happens that many of these projects are moving into more complex stages, and so there's a lot more activity happening on them, and that's one of the reasons that we're requiring more funds for this contract.
Could you give me some details on that last one, the Valley Gravel Pit? Where is that and what's involved with that?
Sure. That Valley Gravel Pit is an old gravel pit that's on our Valley Generating Station property, and it used to be there. It was there before the plant was built.
Where is that?
It's up in, I guess, it's right across from our Valley Generating Plant. It's in Sunland area.
Oh.
So if you know where the 4 stacks are, it's right south of that. It's a gravel pit right on DWP property.
Okay.
And that pit was used for some of the discharge from the plant historically. And so that's part of what we're dealing with in cleaning that up.
But this is all on property that we currently own.
Correct.
Okay, so once you clean it up and you take out the toxic material, what do you do with that material?
What do we do with it? Well, we actually send it, depending on what we're going to do. If we're going to excavate it, we'll take it to a facility that's approved to accept that material, and we actually audit those facilities before we send our waste there to make sure that it's properly dealt with and handled.
Yeah, so I'm just curious what they do with it. Happens
Many times it's just encapsulated. It's like a landfill sometimes.
Okay.
Or there are other sites. You'll see this site here is our Western District headquarters and Palm Service Center. This was an underground storage tank release. And so what we do here is we treat the water, we pump the groundwater out, take the contaminants out of it, and then we also have a soil vapor extraction system where there's actually the vapors that are within the soil particles. We take that off of there and destroy that. So these are all ongoing projects that we've been doing for many, many years here in the department.
And they're very closely overseen by the regulatory agencies, so the Department of Toxic Substances Control
Yes.
or the Regional Water Board. So the disposal of any material as a result of the cleanup is also overseen by those agencies.
Okay, so that it can't possibly get into our water systems.
No. The idea is to do these cleanups is to make sure it never gets into the groundwater or
Okay.
and remove it from the soil where it's been released.
And any activities that we do have a very high level of oversight by those regulatory agencies. If there's data gaps, they make us go back and resample. If they have any questions, all of those have to be approved well in advance before we can do any work.
Okay,
And that's
'cause
the
we
reason
don't want another Michigan.
The reason for a lot of this work is because of going back and looking at the data and finding we need more information.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second? Those in favor?
Aye.
It's approved. Thank you very much. Item 33, Commissioner Barad.
Commissioner, item 33 is mine, so I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have, and I won't move over there.
Okay. Thank you. I noticed that this is not in closed session, but I would like to know, it says legal advice and representation in an anticipated trial.
So that the item that these are in reference to will be coming to you in closed session shortly. But if you notice the date on the account, it's relatively new, so we will be bringing it to you in closed session. But we wanted to get the retention on board immediately.
So we're retaining this law firm without knowing what the case is or the trial?
They're not being retained just for one item. It's for various employment law expertise to supplement our staff So it's on, as mentioned, on a task basis. So one of those tasks will be coming before you.
Okay.
But what this allows us to do is, as these situations arise, it gives us the immediate ability to supplement our resources as we need to, and sometimes that'll happen before the matter is ready to be
But
presented.
just to follow up Commissioner Broad's question, I assume we would approve in closed session any specific expenditure. This is broad authorization?
This is broad authorization.
And this is for a term of 3 years.
Again, Commissioner, so it's that we can, on any given day, we may have an issue arise that we might need to engage a firm for. So much like our other legal contracts, this provides us with the ability to go forward with having people work on items during that time period, so that every time we don't have to do a RFP when we need that person's
So
services.
they're on retainer,
So this, no, well,
kind of.
they are available for us, but this, the sum is not being spent for that time period. It's just the ability to have them. They're not on true retainer because we're not paying them anything up front.
They're available, but we would prospectively approve any expenditures.
Okay,
for
so it's
specific
not that
matters.
they're going to be making $500,000 for one case?
No.
That's correct.
No.
And have we worked with this firm before?
We have. The city has worked with them, and we've been quite happy
Okay.
with their services in the past. And the department's worked with them before on some of our ADA matters, and we've been very happy with their services.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Other questions, comments? Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second, those in favor?
Aye.
It's approved. Okay, our remaining open session item before going into closed session is item 12.
Commissioner, I have recused myself from item 12 and the corresponding closed session item.
Okay, so we'll wait till you leave the room, and we will not hear this in closed session when you're in the room. Is there any presentation by staff, or are we simply going to have the two speakers speak and then go into closed session?
My understanding is you will have the public comment at this time.
Okay.
And
So Barbara, call the speaker cards, please.
Okay, the first speaker is Fred Baharian.
Good afternoon. My name is Fred Befarian, President of APCO Development Corporation. First of all, I greatly appreciate the time and effort by purchasing, legal, management, and honorable board member to resolve this matter and put this behind us. We are almost there. I'm simply pleading with the board to reconsider and have some leniency on APCO for the circumstances that was beyond its control. Number one, we have practically been debarred for the past 2 years of not getting contracts, and one additional year makes it 3 years. The LADWP program allows review after a certain period of time. And number two, APCO's damages are substantial, but we are only asking reconsideration for payment of our cost, which is substantially more than $100,000 for unpaid training sessions, concrete contract, bid preparations, etc. To summarize, APCO has been in business for 41 years, never been debarred, and has performed on many contracts for LADWP successfully. The fate of APCO and its employees are in your hands. I plead with you to reconsider APCO's letter of July 16th and have some leniency to resolve any and all issues. We want to settle both the administrative and the legal matter this afternoon, right now. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, the next speaker is Craig Kisman.
Chisman, thank
Kisman?
you. Good afternoon, Board. Thank you for letting us speak right now. I'll echo our clients' sentiments, APCO, regarding it. We worked very hard with Patricia Ursea to get this done. There's only 2 matters that are left that we request the Board's reconsideration on. The 2 matters are a 6-month review, which is normally part of the Board's standard for these type of issues as well, too. And the other matter is the monetary amount, which that the costs in the bid preparations and everything else that APCO has lost in terms of the costs far exceed the $100,000. So we believe that it's reasonable under the circumstances to end both the litigation and the closed door session as well too, that amount be reasonable to go ahead and get it done. Again, we worked very hard in trying to get it done. And I do believe APCO has been very reasonable in continuing to work with the city, with the Department of Water and Power. There's ongoing contracts. They work with Department of Water and Power for over 40 years regarding that. We want to continue doing that and doing a good job as well too. And we want to resolve this matter today. We want to sign it today. We're here to go ahead and get this done. We want to end both the civil matter as well as the other closed-door session. And we appreciate the board's reconsideration in getting this done. And we want to work and move forward and get back on track on everything.
Thank you. We'll consider this in closed session at this point.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Counsel?
Yes, the board will adjourn to closed session, and the board shall publicly report any action taken in closed session and the vote or abstention of every member that present thereon in accordance with Section 54.957.1 of the California Government Code.
But wait one moment. I didn't realize Commissioner Barad has something to either say or to ask or say.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with your issue.
Okay.
In reference to what we discussed prior with item 8E, I want the minutes to reflect that I have requested a progress report regarding the business retention program. And I would like that at our next meeting, please.
Okay. I take it the minutes will so reflect.
Yes.
All right, we will now adjourn to closed session.
Thank
Okay,
you.
very good.